Good morning, friends, or afternoon or evening, whatever it is for you. Hi, I'm Julia. This is Julia at Home. This is the fourth and final video in my series on our curriculum choices for the school year 2022 to 2023. This year I have a fourth grader, a second grader, a 3-year-old preschooler, and a 1-year-old. This video is going to focus on preschool. I'm going to touch on my 1-year-old a little bit, but this really is mainly for my 3-year-old. I love doing the Montessori method with my preschool age children, and I'm really excited to have a 3-year-old again and get into all the early sensorial materials and such. But before I get into those very Montessori specific activities that we'll be doing together, let me talk a little bit about the group subjects we'll be doing for preschool. So these are all aimed at the 3-year-old, and the 1-year-old is like with us, and for some of them, most of them, the older kids are invited to join us as long as they're not doing their own work at the time. Let's start with circle time. So I've been doing circle time with my children since my oldest, who is now almost 10, was I think 2 or 3, probably 2. And it has evolved over the years and gotten a little bit more complicated in that I've added more complicated songs, more poems, less finger plays, things like that. So this year I am going back to targeting circle time at the 3-year-old. So I am simplifying fewer songs and poems, more simple songs, and more finger plays. So again, it's really still a seasonal practice, and we also do our calendar time during it, which has been my toddler's favorite for a year or 2 now. So she's able to do more of that now. She moves the ring. The older 2 just don't really care to move the ring anymore. And I let her choose like the weather card for what the weather is today. And so she loves that. And the 1-year-old is there with us, of course, but he's not moving the calendar or anything yet. And the older 2 are invited to join us if they finish their other schoolwork at the time. That's kind of how I've set up our routine, and they're welcome to join us, but they also don't have to. I'd rather not have them like sitting there kind of with a bad attitude if they don't want to be there. But if they do want to join us, of course, they're welcome. Of course, there will be lots and lots of reading of good picture books. I have quite the collection. I love them. I like to put out my favorite seasonal books. I just put out the fall ones, and the 3-year-old and the 7-year-old were actually both very excited to see them out, and I immediately had to read almost all of them. That is an important part. The 1-year-old likes to look at the little board books, and so we read those to him. We'll see if we can get him to sit with us. And my 3-year-old has not sat as well for stories as my older 2 did. I think I mentioned this in previous videos, but we are actually making really good progress. I'm trying to expand her attention span as having her sit and read books with me. So I think we're making some progress there, and hopefully we can also work on the 1-year-old so I can have more time to just sit and read. This year I'm trying to do a targeted preschool activity each day of the week. I'm not making this super complicated. It's kind of tied into what we're doing, but I want to make sure that I'm giving her the same kind of fun, the same kind of activities that her older siblings had at her age. So Monday is our baking day. I like to bake bread. Sometimes she helps me with that. More often, she helps me make muffins. She loves making muffins. Tuesday is an art day. Wednesday is a nature day, go outside. I think Thursday is another art day. And Friday is cleaning day because I like to get the house clean at some point. So, and she still loves helping me do that. So this is flexible. Like there's often at least one day of the week where we go out on a field trip and such. So they're very flexible. Art includes drawing, painting, playing with clay or Play-Doh. And we also do those things at other times, especially when I'm working with the big kids. Even the 1-year-old now has just started to color. I just have to watch for him putting things in his mouth. So those are like the targeted things. I will occasionally also have like a special craft, such as maybe printing with apples or something like that. That's a little bit more set up with like a seasonal activity. Okay, let's get into those Montessori subjects I'm doing with my 3-year-old. First is Sensorial, and I will link here my whole video on Sensorial. You will see some of the things behind me, sensorial materials behind me. And just in case there's somebody thinking it, I know that's not the correct way to store the pink tower in a classroom, but this is what has worked better for me. So that is what I am doing. So Sensorial, if you don't know, I have that video. Definitely go check it out if you're interested. But it is basically using the senses, and it's trying to isolate a sense at a time. So often we'll be looking at color, that's our visual sense. We'll be feeling tactile things with our hands. We'll be smelling things. We might even taste things, although I don't normally put that on the shelves. So it's all things like that, sensorial activities. And Marie Montessori came up with these really cool, I really love them, materials such as the cylinder block here, where they're also practicing pincher grasp, but it goes from tallest to shortest and from, I guess, widest to thinnest. And so we practice those kind of language things while we're doing them, but it's strengthening the hand, it's sensorial senses. So anyway, go check out the video if you're interested in more of that, but I love this. I'm really excited to start it with her. Practical life we've actually been doing for a little while now. You may have seen in some of my other videos, I like to put out trays. I had a tongs activity with like little fake apples set up for her, but she is currently doing it right now, so I can't show you. But like moving things with tongs, with spoons, even when they're little with their hands, pouring things, first starting with dry materials, then with wet materials. I have a whole setup here with funnels and stuff for her to practice pouring and such. So lots of practical life. It also includes things not on trays in here, but like in our real lives. We practice washing hands. We practice putting on our clothes, and all that involves. So all those things are within practical life. I do try to have some of the trays here, and then also try to keep in mind some of the things just day to day that we do. Language, of course, I mentioned before our circle time and reading, and that is a bulk of language activities for this age. Just lots of good language getting to them, and singing and all that is great. In addition, I do like to follow the Montessori sequence for reading. And so I'm looking up here because I have all my sound objects stored up there. I don't have them easily accessible to them. I have sound objects. We've kind of gone through, I think, most of them already, just identifying what they're called so that she knows, I know that she knows the names of all of them, and practicing making the sounds and saying the words. And then we'll start with the sound game and move on to the sandpaper letters and things like that. Now I have a video on this, so check out my Montessori reading video. There's also some activities that are kind of random. I would categorize them as pre-math. So towards the end of the sensorial materials, there's also geometry materials. So there's a geometry cabinet with different shapes that you would outline with your finger, and then they would learn the names for the various shapes and the geometric solids and such like that. But there's also activities that I like to do, like just counting. We do that during calendar time, but we also have counting books, and we just do it generally in the course of everyday life. There's patterning and sequencing activities. I don't think I have any of those out right now. I have some really good ones for with pumpkins that I might pull out for her. I'm not 100% sure if she's ready for patterning yet, so I might just pull out some really easy ones and try in a couple weeks. But I do have, this is an example of something that's kind of different. This is butterfly cards that you have to match. So let me find a match in here. I tried to mix them up to make it a little more difficult, but you'd have to find the two matches and put them together. And I think I have like 6 different ones in here. So I don't really know what that's categorized under. I mean, we're looking at symmetry, we're matching. So there's a lot of different things going on there, and she's learning a lot of skills doing it. And she loves who doesn't love butterflies? But she does love butterflies, so I thought that would be fun. I also pulled out these life cycle of a butterfly. I thought I had cards to go with it, but I couldn't find them. So we're just gonna do them with the objects, where I'll work with her and she'll put them in order. So there's like the butterfly, the caterpillar. This is like the eggs with the little caterpillars that first come out, and the chrysalis. And she knows what all those things are, just from being around the bigger kids when we've read books and talked about them. So I thought that would be kind of a fun life cycle activity. Let me just touch on my 1-year-old for a little bit. He is currently 15 months. So from turning 1 to turning 2, there's a huge change in development and what they're doing. And every child's a little different in where they are along there. So it's a lot of following the child, which is a Montessori, we always follow the child. But they change so much in these early years. So he's 15 months. I'm not quite ready to start the practical life activities with him yet. I usually start that around 18 months, and I take out some really easy trays with some moving things by hand and such. He does a lot of playing. Again, I just took out coloring stuff for him. But by the end of this year, he will be doing more of the practical life activities and probably some easy like sorting activities, maybe learning colors and things like that. Not in a super formal way, but just through day to day. And of course, at that age, they're really working on, they're working on a lot of things, right? But their gross motor skills. So he is walking and running around and climbing already. So he spends a lot of his day climbing on things, which is a little rough on me, but probably developmentally appropriate for him. So he's really working on that gross motor skills. I try to give him safe things that are kind of big or heavy to carry around. He really likes that. And then he's also working on his fine motor skills, especially when eating. He already can eat with like a spoon and a fork and like a cup and such. And so things like that. And I'll give him little things to pick up and stuff. So I could set up more formal things for him, but I probably will wait a couple months before we do anything even remotely planned out in that regard. And then of course there's language. Around 18 months is when most kids will start saying, adding in more words. He has a couple words and is starting to be a little bit more communicative and obviously understands a lot more right now than he did. So yeah, we're just working on that. Of course, he's around. I'm hoping he'll pay attention through some of the songs and finger plays and our good storybooks, and he comes with us on all of our field trips and adventures. So he gets exposed to a lot of good language and experiences, and I think that is just what he needs right now. So that's my plan for preschool. It's really similar to what I've done with my older kids. If you want more detail on the Montessori subjects, I have specific videos that will be linked up in cards as well as in the description box below. And any resources I will link below as well. And of course, if you would like any more detail or have questions about something specific, please ask me in the comments below. I love seeing your comments. So until next time, friends, I hope you all stay well, and I'll talk to you later.